Hey, I'm Lorna and welcome back to my channel Thread and Yarn. It's all about knitting, sewing, natural dyeing and just enjoying crafts. Today is going to be a bit of a November, I was about to say October, that's been and gone. This is a November update on where I've got up to with the things that I'm sewing and knitting, quilting, dyeing, all of that lovely stuff. I've had a really busy month, but I wanted to talk you through some of the projects I've been working on for my homemade wardrobe and some of the other bits I've been doing as well, and also give you an update on some of the plans that I mentioned in my last video. So watch on for those if you're interested. I'm very excited about them. I'll start off by talking about some of the finished objects that I've made over the last month, talk about how some of the plans that I had thought I would do didn't really happen and what's in their place instead, and also just give you a little bit of a general update and sort of musings as we progress through autumn and into the winter months. So we're mid-November now here in the southwest of the UK. We're sort of on the border with Wales and we get some pretty beautiful seasonal weather here. I'm looking out my window at the moment and the trees are just an incredible shade of gold and rust and red and all my favourite colours, and I feel so inspired at this time of year to recreate that palette in my wardrobe. Arguably, I do that all year round, but whenever I look out the window and I just see the beech leaves have, become this amazing shade. In fact, they're like, I wish I could show you them properly, but they're basically this colour. Thank you. You know what, I've always thought that October was my favourite month, but I think November is, because spider season is over and the leaves are just at that absolute peak before more of the storms come and take them all away. And I think November skies are just the most beautiful. Anyway, I find that gives me a lot of inspiration for the things that I create, and it just makes me feel so connected, I think, to appreciate things like that and the seasons and bring them into my practices in my life and also into my making. So I've had a really busy month, as I said, for lots of reasons. I haven't done as much making as I'd like, even though it feels like every day I've been doing something creative, which is lovely, but I felt a little bit scattered and I'm trying to bring it all in a bit and practice what I preached in my last fibre folk video and look after myself and nurture myself for these colder months coming ahead. And I think sometimes the summer can be really busy. We grow all our own food, so we are pretty busy picking stuff and growing stuff and looking after the garden and the plots throughout the summer. And I think one of the other reasons I love autumn and winter is because that's all kind of dormant now and everything's picked. There's some stuff I need to do to prep for next year, like choosing seeds and things, but other than that I can just sort of sit back and enjoy the sort of darker nights where we can work on our crafts. And I've said it before, but I just think that that's a lovely way to remind yourself that we weren't originally designed to be working at 100% all year round and be required to constantly be performing, that before we would have enjoyed the natural sort of ebb and flow of energy throughout the year. And I find it really relaxing and grounding to think about that. And yeah, I try to take notice of it and try to listen to my body. So I've had a busy month. A few things that I finished, which I'm really excited about, and for a couple of other reasons as well. So I'm an illustrator part-time and I paint things that are basically crafting themed, so knitting and quilting. And I've just done a big shop update where I'm getting ready for winter, and that has taken up so much of my time. It's been delightful and I've loved connecting with so many wonderful knitters on Instagram who find my work quite comforting and cosy. I just thought I'd show you as well, in case you're knitting inclined or quilting inclined, this is the sort of thing I do. I do them in postcards and cards. I just thought I'd show you because I feel like we're kindred spirits here. Anyway, yeah, so I can't get enough of knitting and quilting, so I have to paint about it. But that is the reason why I've been really busy, really, over the last month. However, I have finished, finally, I finished it last night. I was sewing on the buttons on the sofa. I finished my scallop jacket. And I blocked it, and it does fit. And I know it looked tiny before because it was in rib and I was a bit nervous about that as well, but it fits perfectly and I'm just so in love with it. It's the perfect colour of brown and I think it's probably the neatest thing I've ever made. I used Italian like tubular bind off on all the edges and I think it's, apart from the sleeves, I forgot to check the sleeves, so I might go back around and do that. We'll see. But yeah, I love it. I chose these buttons from Merchant & Mills ages ago. And then I thought, oh my God, I have ordered one too few buttons. I think you can see which one I'm talking about. And you can see how chaotic my mind is because I obviously started last night sewing the one from the bottom and then went top down and just realised there was one missing in the middle. So I sewed on the closest button I could find to it. And I was going to have a look for one more, but it's crazy to buy just one button. And then this morning I found one in my bed. I wasn't even doing it in my bed. I just must like gather threads and buttons and various sewing things and then deposit them around the house, I guess. Yeah, my partner loves it. So I found it. Oh God, have I lost it again? It's here some, oh there it is behind my mug. Here it is. So I can replace it. But you know, I don't really mind for now. I'll do that at some point. But I sewed it on with sashiko thread, which I really like. It's just a slightly different shade of brown. It's really strong cotton, like used for Japanese embroidery, and I use it for all my hand quilts, hand quilted quilts. Yeah, I'm so happy with it. I realised I'll pop up a picture, but I took a picture of the pumpkins I grew last year, and on the table is this. I think so. I have been knitting it for over a year. So that tells you, is you know how much of a slow burn it was. I've chosen the wrong blouse to put underneath really because this is puffed sleeves, so you're going to have a bit of a puffed sleeve lump on the arm. But such a nice colour. I think it's going to be just a brilliant layer. I've been really wanting a nice warm cardigan. I've got my truss cardigan, but I wear it to death. And I quite wanted one that was slightly smarter and, you know, just a second one of a different colour and a different style. Plus the truss one comes down in a V-neck, whereas this one is goes up to my neck. And I'm going on holiday at the start of December, very excitingly, to Copenhagen to visit my brother-in-law. The knitters among you will know what plans I have for going around Copenhagen, I'm sure. But it's going to be cold and I am really happy I've got this finished in time to wear as a layer underneath my coat. So this is it. Now I'm wearing it with the wrong blouse and some baggy dungarees, but it is just a wonderful layer. I really like the raglan increases the way the rib comes up and the high neckline. I think it's going to be really warm. I had over knitted, I can't remember if I said, I'd over knitted it a bit so it had gone too long and past my hips, which I don't really like. I wear a lot of skirts and dresses and I quite like things to come in sort of around here, a lot of high-waisted trousers as well. So I ripped it back and I redid the ribbing, and I redid the ribbing a bit deeper, and I'm so glad I did. I love the colours with, I mean, it matches a lot of my other things like this Anthea blouse, and I think it looks great with these dungarees as well. So I'm super chuffed about that. I finished it. And I was, yeah, weaving in the ends and sewing on the buttons last night, so super cosy. Yeah, and I'm probably going to be wearing it a lot. Oh, I was going to show you these mugs. So I bought them at lunch yesterday. I went to a farm shop near me. They had these beautiful handmade mugs by a local artist. And their Instagram is Little Earthquake Pots, I think. I think it's Little Earthquake Pots. She makes these yeah, loads of beautiful ceramics and then decorates them. I've got, this is, I feel like I call this my daytime one. I've got a hare and it's in the wheat fields with the sun shining on it. And this feels like my day mug. And then I've got another one with stars on it, which I had when I woke up so early this morning. And I was winding some wool and I was drinking my tea from it, and it's got stars and a moon on it. And that was my night mug. So hopefully more time for my day mug than my night mug. But I've just got so much on my mind at the moment that I'm struggling to get a full night's sleep. Anyway, beautiful. I love supporting little artists and businesses. So I'll show you some other things that I've been doing. I've been doing lots of little hand quilted pieces lately. I love using up scraps and I really enjoy hand quilting. I love doing it in front of the telly, and I like making little trivets, little pop squares from fabric scraps. And I've got some bamboo wadding in the middle here as well. I bind them and then I hang them up in my kitchen, or I put them on my table. Sometimes I will put like my candlesticks on there, and it protects the table as well. And when the wax comes on here, I just pop it in the freezer for a day or so, and then I take it out, and then you can just chip the wax off, and it's amazing. So no having to scrape it or anything. I really love them. I make lots for my kitchen. They're just a nice little manageable project. It really helps build your quilting skills, and it's just a nice thing to do. So I love doing those, and I'm also in the process of making some little hand quilted bags. I'm always taking knitting out with me, and I want something to hold my like second pair of needles or stitch markers or some little thread snips in. So I'm going to make some little zipped pouches to take with me. This is from my Etta dress that I made for my birthday. I've got some scraps and I'm really enjoying quilting them. So that's been some nice little manageable projects when I felt like my head is a bit full or I'm a bit out of energy in the evenings and I don't want to pick up a whole sewing project. This feels like a nice thing to do. And I think slow stitching, like hand stitching and knitting, they really help ground me, and I think, throwing it around, I find it calms me down and I find it quite centering, whereas sometimes with sewing it feels like it's a bit of a faster pace, and I like building in sort of hand sewn elements into things to slow me down a bit and really savour the process, which I get a lot of joy from. So I've really enjoyed those lately. And what else have I made? Oh, in my talking of slow stitching and slowing down the process, in my last video about finding my style, I spoke a bit about this vest. I don't know if you haven't seen it. I have designed this vest pattern and I'm just in the process of sorting it out before I progress it. But it's going to be called the Bilbo vest. I'm really excited because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I said in my last video, Bilbo Baggins is probably my #1 style icon. So yeah, I thought I would celebrate that and make a vest inspired by him because his look is just perfect. So this one I made in wool, in a wool remnant, and then I lined it with an old dress that I'd made from Merchant Mills linen that I made quite a long time ago. I had quite a lot of mistakes and I wasn't wearing it or enjoying it. So it's got quite a high neckline for the winter, which I think will be lovely, and I've added this embroidery. Sort of, you can tell I was watching Lord of the Rings, I think, when I did it. It's a really cosy, warm, core warmer. It's got quite straight sides, but I'm thinking about adding the option for darts down here. Not for a thick wool version, but maybe for something like a lighter weight velvet or a cord or a linen. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing that, and that's probably been my main sewing project over the last month. Because I'm making up in lots of different fabrics to see what it will be like. I have also made it up in a fleece, which is going to be even cozier, I think. And this one, because with fleece and things like boiled wool, you don't have to finish the edges. You can just cut them, but I've been doing a blanket stitch all around the edge, and I think it's going going to be a lovely little detail, and also on the pocket. I need to do the armholes still, but this is going to be a really warm version, I think. It's unlined, just overlocked the edges, and I've bought some vintage leather, like football style, I think that's what they're called, even though I hate that name. They're like leather buttons, big round dark brown buttons that I'm going to pop on here. And I think it's going to be great. It's a bit of a close-up of the blanket stitch. And it's really just a suggestion of how you can add interest. But I'll show you when I've added the buttons down here as well. This one is so cosy. But I really want to include sort of little hand stitching options with the pattern to make it quite special and unique, and also to try and share the joy and the love of hand stitching and how it can sort of really add intention and extra beauty to your makes. So I'll update you a bit more about this as I progress. I really want it to be accessible to everybody, so I'm spending a lot of time thinking about shaping and sizing and grading. I'm thinking sort of mid-winter, like January time, I might ask about testing if anyone's interested. It's not going to be some big massive scale thing, I just want to share it with people. I want to do some sort of accessible scale, so if you struggle to afford patterns, you can still make the thing you want. The other finished, although this is not finished obviously, but the other finished object I've made recently is this bumper jumper. So I showed you this fabric in my last update video, but I thought I was going to make a blanket jumpsuit from it, but I ended up not doing that because I felt like the linen might have been a little bit lightweight. So I opted for this bumper jumper by Open Studio instead. Sorry, I had to take a little break because the builders are making a racket outside. So the light and position of things might have changed a bit. But I was talking about this bumper jumper. Now, I really love the fabric and I like the overall effect and look of it. I had a bit of a mare making it though, and I don't know what went wrong. I feel like I'm a pretty experienced sewist. Well, I am. But I just struggled to follow a lot of the instructions on it. And I saw online that some other people have felt the same, and some others of you commented on Instagram when I was having difficulty. It was mostly around the button placket, but in the end I used the pattern pieces, but then I just ended up making it up as I went. So I added my own pockets as I like to do them, inseam with a edge stitching on the inside to make sure that they hold themselves in nicely and don't roll out, and just some other little details like that I think make a garment finished. The button placket just wouldn't entirely line up for me. It's a bit odd, but I'm happy now it's done. I didn't love it loads when I finished it because it was quite a difficult process, and I think I definitely feel like that sometimes. How I felt making something affects how I feel when I'm wearing it, even if that's weeks later. But I do really like it now, and you can see the buttons I've chosen go really nicely. I've done a navy thread with a sort of pale rusty colour button, and it's really comfy. It's feel like a big baby grow, and I like wearing clothes that are quite beautiful and practical at the same time, and this definitely fits the bill for that. So I've worn it quite a lot already. I think it'll go pretty well with the cardigan jacket I've just finished. These colours are beautiful together, so I might show you a little video of me wearing them together later. So this is the bumper jumper. And I'll show you what it looks like with my scallop jacket. Maybe I prefer it open. I think the colours go really well together. I'm really happy with this combo. I'm going to head to my allotment in a minute, and I think I might wear this. So that's the the main sort of, other than my vest that I've been working on for quite a while, this is the main sewing project that I've worked on this month, but I'm glad I've done it. Some of the other ones I haven't got around to. I know I mentioned a Chloe Byers skirt. I really want to make that, but as we approach winter proper, I'm quite keen to work on some bit more practical clothing. I do wear like skirts a lot, doing practical things, but I want to spend a lot more time on my allotment, getting the ground ready, and I really need some hard wearing dungarees. So I've got some beige canvas and I just want to make up some allotment dungarees really. I might follow a pattern or I might wing it. These are Harleen dungarees by Merchant & Mills. It's a lovely pattern. There's quite a lot of ease in it, but I think I might use this and then hack it a bit to make it slightly more fitted, to keep it a bit warmer and a bit less things to catch on. And I also want to add things like deeper pockets. I'm going to add an extra layer over the knees so they don't wear through. I want to add some loops around the belt area so I can attach like knives and secateurs, things like that. So that's going to be a big winter project for me. And that's kind of replaced some of the other ones that I didn't really get around to in autumn, but I'm still looking forward to doing them next year. But I think some other more wintry things are going to sneak ahead of them in the queue. I do like layering up and wearing things like that all year round, but I've only got a limited amount of time, and I think this is something that I will use a lot and will be quite practical. I love doing hardware projects like that, things that involve loads of top stitching, things that involve rivets. Again, it forces you to take it more slowly. I feel like I'm building extra skills by using a hammer. And yeah, it just is something a bit different, isn't it? So I'll show you a bit about those as I make them. But that's why some of my other projects haven't ended up happening. I have to prioritise. I'm glad I prioritised this though. Something else I've been working on for a while is socks. I've been making loads of socks this last sort of 9 months or so, and I love them. I find them a really great little project to pop in a bag. This pair is for my mum. So normally I knit on short circulars, but they are currently being used by another sock that I'm knitting for myself, but I don't think I've shown you these ones before. So I'm using some double pointed needles, but this is just a West Yorkshire Spinners signature sock yarn in the colour Bluebell. I like their yarn, it's quite like sticky and rustic, and yeah, I think my mum will really like that. She's got 2 beautiful doggies and she's often out walking with them, and these are quite nice and cosy. I think they might be slightly on the bigger side, but I think they'll make great boot socks. So yeah, I'm going to give her these for Christmas. I really hope she doesn't watch this video. In fact, she doesn't know about them. She does know about them because I made her try them on. So yeah, and I'm making my stepdad some as well in a slightly different shade, so they'll have little cute matching socks for Christmas. And I might make them a little quilted drawstring bag to pop in. I'm trying not to overwhelm myself with making people Christmas presents and adding a like really specific deadline like that. So these are the 2 things that I'm doing. I'm just about to cast off this sock. I've made 1.5 of my stepdad's, so I just need to make the other one of my mum. And I've got a Christmas market coming up where I'm selling some of my illustrations, and when I'm there I just sit and knit until people come up to me. So I get a lot of sock knitting done when I'm at the market. So I think I'll finish the other one then. I think I'll be fine. But yeah, that's something that I'm enjoying taking around with me. Nice little knitting project. And then this wool, which you might remember if you watched my October update video. Oh, I still haven't started. If you didn't watch the video, I got a really good deal on 2 skeins of this beautiful silky, silk and 30% silk, 70% wool, merino yarn in this incredible gold colour. And I decided to make my first shawl, and I was overwhelmed by the amount of excitement and ideas you guys had about shawls. I've actually made a proper list. I've written them all down, all your suggestions, as well as the suggestions you had for my partner's jumper. So thank you so much for that. It was so lovely, and I loved looking through all your ideas. I've looked through them all. I'm thinking I've narrowed it down to maybe 5 out of about 20, but I still need to pick. But what I thought I would do if it's something you would like, is do a little knit along. I'll let you know which, I don't know if it's knit along is the right term really, but I'm going to let you know which pattern I've decided on, and then I might film a couple of videos of the making of it and just a bit of a knit and chat. And I also want to highlight some of the patterns you guys recommended to me. So if you also have a skein or two of fingering weight yarn and you want to make a shawl, then hopefully it will be a good little anthology for you of some ideas. So thank you all so much for that. I really appreciated your input, and I was really excited. I can't decide which of your beautiful ideas to make. This is something I'm going to cast on really soon. It might be something I take to Copenhagen with me, because obviously I'm going to have a knit on the plane. So yeah, and now I've finished this project, I've got a bit more time for some other knits. So there's my, I'll have to grab it. I'm going to grab it, one sec. So now I've finished the scallop jacket, I've got more time to knit other things. So I'm going to start that shawl, and then I'm going to keep working on my rota cardigan, which I showed you a bit about in the last few videos. I've just separated for the body. This yarn is from Pigment and Ply, who makes loads of beautiful hand-dyed yarn. I am in love with the colours of this yarn. It's so beautiful. I would quite like to, not end of the world if it doesn't happen, I would quite like to finish this for Christmas, because there's an outfit I've got in my head that I think will be beautiful with it. So if you watched, I can't remember which video it might have been, maybe my October update, maybe the one before, my knitting plans, I was talking about sock knitting, and there was a pattern in the 52 Weeks of Socks book where there was a close-up of the alpaca socks. I'll put a little picture up of the alpaca socks with this beautiful plissé, I don't know how you pronounce that, red skirt. And I was like, I really, really want to find fabric like that so I can make that skirt. And I did. So I did a little order. I shared it with my friend because postage is a bit expensive from Canada, but I got this from Blackbird Fabrics, and it's pretty much exactly the right fabric. So I'm really excited, and it is polyester, and it's probably the first polyester thing I've bought in about 5 years. I couldn't find it anywhere else, and it's a garment that I'm going to treasure forever. So it's certainly not going to be a fast fashion thing that I throw away. None of my makes are like that. I think it will hold its structure well with the pleats, and I think it will be really, really cool skirt to wear for Christmas with this little cardigan, because this cardigan is going to be beautiful with skirts, the way it sits around the waist. So I do have this little idea in my head for Christmas. I might draft the pattern myself with a fitted waistband. I think it will look gorgeous with this cardigan. I think this will also look lovely with loads of my hand knits, including this cardigan. The colour fits well into my scheme, my colour schemes generally, being quite like a rich autumnal colour. I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it, so I'm not feeling too bad about that purchase. Generally I like natural fibres because I find them quite breathable, but with a sort of going outy skirt I think it'll be fine. So I've got more time to work on this now, so that's another candidate maybe for Copenhagen plain knitting. I mean, the flight's like an hour and a half, so I don't know why I'm packing multiple projects. The other knitting project that I want to start, if I get time, is I really want to have a go at, so this is kind of a two-part project. I want to have a go at felting, and I saw this pattern for a little hat. It's called Felt Tip Toque, and you knit your hat in fingering weight yarn, and then you felt it, so all the fibres meld together, and then it creates this really warm, strong layer. And I think it will be really lovely and cosy for the winter. So I'm hoping the little hat wouldn't take me too long. It'd be a nice little evening project, something relatively simple. I haven't done any felting before, but there's instructions in it, and loads of instructions with various wonderful people on YouTube. Plus my friend is actually a felting teacher, so I reckon I can ask her for some help. I'm excited about that one. I wound it this morning because I woke up silly o'clock again, and I might cast this on soon. So I've got my socks, I'm going to start my shawl, got my hat, and I'm going to finish off hopefully this month and the start of next month my rota cardigan. So those are my knit projects at the moment. The colours are going really well together. I feel like I'm starting, as I move into autumn, I'm moving away from the softer autumn tones and bringing in some more bold ones. I'm adding a lot more teal and dark blue lately. I'm feeling really drawn to that. But I think it works well with all my existing things, so I can still layer everything up and mix it and match it. Although I don't think anything has to go perfectly. But I'm quite enjoying these slightly different shades that I'm bringing in at the moment. So that's very exciting. A couple of other sewing things. So I've got the skirt that I've mentioned, and I also want to make another red thing where it's kind of rust. So I've got this bamboo rib, I can't remember if it's from Ray Stitch, and I just want loads of practical tops. So I've got the True Bias Nico top pattern. I've made a couple of roll necks from there before, and I'd quite like to make some more. I love wearing them under dresses, so making my summery and autumn dresses fit for colder weather, and I think it's a beautiful colour that will go with most of my stuff. They're pretty quick to make as well, and yeah, if you haven't tried this pattern before, I really recommend it. If you've got any questions about it, let me know. I've made quite a few. I think I'll whiz up a couple of roll necks just for a bit of extra warmth, and so I can wear more of my summery and autumn clothes as we move into the chillier weather. This was a bit of a treat to myself. It's at the start of this month or the end of October. I bought this linen from Merchant & Mills. It's this really beautiful tealy blue colour with a stripe down it. Like I said, I'm adding more blues lately to broaden up my colour palette, but I still think it really goes with the autumny shades. I love those together. And I'm not sure whether to make a high-waisted, quite gathered skirt or whether to make some trousers. I was asking the same question about a khaki linen I've got, and I think I'm going to use the khaki linen to make some bob pants. So I might make a skirt out of this. And I think it would look really cool layered up with like a white shirt and my waistcoat and a gathered skirt. I think that would look really pretty, maybe with a jumper underneath. I love mixing different pieces like that, and then you can just totally change the whole feeling of it depending on, you know, the different layering elements you choose. So I'm quite excited about this. It's a beautiful wintry colour. It just looks like a classic indigo colour to me. Not that it has been naturally dyed, but it's got that feel to it, and I love natural tones. So as always, it's beautiful quality linen, so I'm really excited to work with it, and I think it's going to be a really useful piece. So I think I've talked myself into making a skirt. So those are my ideas at the moment. I'd also love to hear what you're working on. What are you thinking about making as we move into the colder months? How did your autumn makes go? Did many of them change, or did you not end up getting round to them, or are you really happy with what you've made? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear what you're working on at the moment and what you're thinking about with crafting. I've got a couple of other things I want to talk to you about, a few exciting things that I'm just sharing with you guys at the moment, although I have briefly mentioned the first thing on my Instagram. So I mentioned in my last video, in the style video, that I wanted to start doing a sewing workshop and a bit of sewing teaching. This has broadened into a sewing retreat, and it's going to be all about the Zero Waste Gather Dress by Birgitta Helmersson. I've made 5 different versions, I think now, and Birgitta has very kindly let me teach a workshop on it. So I'm so over the moon and excited. And I spoke to my friend. She also lives in Stroud, and she owns part of an old 17th century manor house. It's beautiful. She's got a load of spare, beautifully done up rooms. It's so cosy. It's got thick stone Cotswold walls, and she's really excited to partner up with me on this. So there's a couple of really big rooms with great light and big tables, and I want to teach a group of you how to make the Zero Waste Gather Dress. And it's going to be for a range of different abilities, for beginners and also confident beginners or advanced beginners, and or if you like the pattern and you want to think a bit more about using different fabrics or adding hackable elements to it, because I've made a few different versions with different tweaks, and I think it's a great pattern to adapt. So it's probably going to be a weekend over spring, in late spring probably, like April, May. And there's going to be an option to have accommodation if you like. If you want to make a Cotswoldy UK holiday out of it, you're more than welcome to stay with my friend Lucia. She is delightful and really excited to host some of you, hopefully. So even if you're on the other side of the world, because I know some of you mentioned you're in the US or in Europe, then please don't let that put you off. I'm going to start sharing some photos soon of the place, and I'd love to meet some of you. And I am really excited to get back into teaching as well. I've done it a lot in various jobs over the years, but this is something I'm truly passionate about. So I'm really, really excited. It's going to be a sort of seasonally inspired event as well. So as I said, I grow my own food. My partner is an incredible cook. So we're going to make seasonally inspired homegrown lunches that, seeing as it's spring, there's probably going to be elderflower cordial, and it's just going to be a beautifully paced thing with seasonal stuff and building your sewing skills and meeting other like-minded people and having a little cozy holiday if you fancy in the Cotswolds. And or if you're local, then you can just pop along to the workshop, and I want it to be accessible for everybody, so I'm going to add a tiered structure to it. And don't let that put you off if you're worried about a whole workshop and expenses and things like that. So I'll put more details about that, or talk more details about that soon. I'm going to build a website, and it's going to have a lot more information about this, but that's all going to be happening over the winter. So yeah, I'll let you know as I know a bit more myself. But I just wanted to tell you about it first, so let me know if you're interested, and yeah, I'm very excited. So those are all my plans so far for autumn as we move into winter. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully my next video is going to be about the shawl, and I'm also planning one as we move into winter about the quilts that I'm going to make. So I'll do more about quilting and some of my inspiration and some tips for quilting there, and hopefully I'll share the shawl with you soon. I'll also share some clips of my video of Copenhagen when I'm back, because I'm definitely doing a yarn shop tour. So have a cozy November, and I hope everything is well with you. Please say hello in the comments, because I love chatting with you guys. Bye.